Hello and welcome to the Tech Bros podcast with me, Egerton, and Raj.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. We are still in the in-person era of Tech Bros. if you're following along at home, we are in person again.
Yes. So today we are going to talk about, let's say, a very hot topic at the moment, which is Twitter and Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like still. Well, I guess we're a little bit late in terms
but it's still ongoing.
In terms of like the peak of activity.
Yeah.
Although we should say that the trial is actually going to begin on October 17th.
Exactly.
So you are correct in that it's ongoing, and that we'll hear more about it in the coming months, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so that was a thing that happened. And is happening. In case people aren't aware, Elon Musk tried to buy Twitter.
Yes. God, to this day, I still don't know actually how I feel about that, because I'm not being funny, but he is a bit of a crazy man.
I mean, he's just a bit strange.
It's very strange. It's like he doesn't know what to do with his money. Like, I know you're worth a lot, but come on.
It's one of those like interesting things where, like, if you look at the amount of money involved, for the context of people listening, he offered to purchase Twitter for $43 billion.
Yeah,
which is obviously the sort of money that we can't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to us as as regular people who can't imagine that
honestly
sort of amount of money.
Yeah.
But then you sort of think about what could that money do in other contexts.
Like, if I had that sort of money, I couldn't even start to imagine what I could spend it on.
I don't even know, like, if I can imagine.
Yeah. Honestly. Wow. Okay.
it's completely like unimaginable. And we obviously have like lotteries here where you have like Euro Millions and you win like 70 million.
Yeah, it's not even in the billions.
Yeah, so that's already like outside of my imagination. Yeah. But 43 billion is just something else. So basically, Elon Musk, he had acquired about 9.1% of the company's stock for $2.64 billion. Mm-hmm. And he became sort of the largest shareholder at that stage.
Yeah. And
then he offered on April 14th this year, 2022, to completely buy Twitter and to basically buy all of the stocks at a price of $54.20 per share.
Wow.
So that's how you get to the value of $43 billion.
Yes.
So lots of money, basically.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And with that, Elon had certain conditions, didn't he? Mm-hmm. That he wanted to know how many of the Twitter, let's say, community per se, are made up of bots.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, you know what? Even nowadays, I rarely see a bot on Twitter. When Twitter started, it used to be really bad.
Yeah.
It used to be really bad, and you always can tell that it's a bot by their picture just being an egg, basically.
Yeah, which you still see, and I guess it's like, in some cases it's easy to tell that a bot is a bot.
Yeah.
And in other cases it's actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to basically know that what sort of percentage of users were bots or were spam.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to be able to essentially make the sort of the algorithms that drive Twitter more open and more transparent.
Yes.
And he wanted to basically have a sort of a pledge from Twitter to cut down on the number of spam bots, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, I guess it's weird to think that these are like conditions for him buying Twitter when he could have just bought it and then actually made these changes.
Yeah.
He was also he wanted to basically get rid of some of the higher ups at Twitter.
Yes.
And potentially even he talked about slashing their pay. He talked about turning like the Twitter headquarters in San Francisco into a homeless shelter. So like clearly, like if this had gone through, he probably would have done like a lot.
Yes.
But he could have like done all that like afterwards, and people wouldn't have known.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly. So with that all taking place, and Elon saying, "Okay, fine, I will buy Twitter." Let's fast forward to. So he made the offer in April. So let's give it some time. So he's going backwards and forwards with Twitter about not getting the correct information for the sale. Then it gets to about, let's say, so we're now in August. And he when did he pull out?
So I think I have it here that he announced his intention to terminate the proposed acquisition on July 8th.
Yes, so July 8th. But with him doing that comes the trouble. Because in the contract to buy Twitter, there was also a clause that said if he was to terminate the contract or not go through with the sale, he has to pay $1 billion termination fee. And that's $1 billion, that I must say. $1 billion.
Well, to be honest, we've just been talking about like 43 billion, so 1 billion doesn't even sound like that
bad. Even the word billion.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, I don't know, it kind of primes you to think like in such big numbers that you can't even imagine.
Wow.
So basically he has to pay $1 billion.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to.
But I guess more specifically he alleges that that Twitter breached the contract on their end,
basically,
in terms of not providing the information that he wanted to kind of determine about the spam accounts, which was, I guess, is sort of his main reason. And he also requested about the sort of dismissing of some of the higher ups in the company, and so apparently those are the reasons that he gave for pulling out of the acquisition.
Yeah, we don't know if those are the real reasons why, but that's Elon Musk. But at the same time, Twitter, in those 3 months of discussion, Twitter has spent $33 million in those 3 months on the Elon Musk deal. So $11 million a month.
Yeah, they
were burning through trying to get this to work.
I mean, I do wonder if, like, in the context of Twitter, is that a lot? I guess is the is the question, because I mean, in the context of a company of that size, it's a lot. Obviously,
it's a lot.
But is it that much for a company like that?
Well, perhaps not.
Yeah,
perhaps not. And I funny enough, there's a quote from where is it? A firm called Forrester, and Mike I'm going to butcher this name. Mike Prolux from the firm Forrester said this exactly, and I completely agree. Twitter now has an acquirer who no longer wants it, a CEO and board who wants to get rid of it, and an employee base which is caught in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
Is exactly true.
Yeah, I mean, what we should say is that, like, this was pretty close to going through, in the sense that the offer from Musk went through towards the board of directors at Twitter.
Yeah.
And they okayed it. They were like, this is fine with us.
Yeah.
There were legislators that had a look of it for, like, antitrust violations.
Yeah.
And they okayed it.
Mm-hmm.
From the legislation standpoint.
Yeah.
It all seemed fine. From, like, Twitter's end,
yeah.
at least in the higher ups, it seemed fine. Musk was fine with it. Like, this was all, like, it felt like it was gonna, I mean, maybe, like, some people felt like, oh, this is gonna fall through somehow. And, there are some people saying it would fall through somehow. But this made, like, a lot of progress. This wasn't like Elon Musk made an offer and Twitter just dismissed it out of hand and just said, no, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
They gave it, like, serious thought.
Yeah, exactly.
And it got, like, pretty far.
Yeah.
So it's not like this was just a small thing. Like, this was pretty close to going through, I would say.
Mm-hmm. We still even wonder to this day.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
Oh, by the way, I was just going to say that initially it was proposed to be $13 billion.
Yeah.
And this is equivalent to 7 times the company's projected operating cash flow for 2022.
Wow.
But that means that their operating cash flow is about $2 billion.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like, that's 1 year of basically, that's the cash flow that Twitter gets.
Yeah.
And then the offer's $43 billion.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a sense of scale there in terms of the amount of money that Twitter makes.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk was getting basically, it wasn't just him, there was funding from other places. So he was getting basically funding from a group of banks like Morgan Stanley, Bank of America. Some interesting names pop up when you actually look at the funding. So you got about $7.1 billion from the Oracle's co-founder Larry Ellison, a Saudi prince, Qatar Holding.
Well, Qatar, hats off to them. Qatar, when they see an opportunity, they go for it.
Yeah.
Like, even Qatar Airways themselves, they have shares in different companies, different airlines. So, hats off to the Qataris.
Yeah. And also we had, like, venture capital firms like Sequoia Capital as well. So, I mean, a lot of, like, different contributors were going towards this buyout.
Yeah. And it makes you think that, is it that one person, that not Elon himself, has, caused the sale to fail? Or it's somebody within the group of investors that decided to withdraw their funding? That's another question, really. But, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, but I think it's like Elon Musk wants, and we should say that, there's a political kind of slant to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And we're not a politics podcast.
No, we're not.
No. but there is this whole thing of, like, his aim to kind of promote free speech on Twitter.
Yeah.
And to basically allow people to say what they want and all that.
Yeah.
And that was basically, like, his aim, and that was what he probably wanted to achieve with this buyout. But if he's, I mean, yes, he owns the company, but he's not sort of the CEO. So he, there's the question of, like, how much power does he have? And so he wanted assurances that he could get these things through this buyout.
Wow.
And higher ups like Jack Dorsey, like the founder, he himself would receive about $1 billion from this. So there was, I guess, that angle of, like, okay, you can, make a good amount of money, but only if you allow me to make these changes because of what he wants Twitter to be, essentially.
Yes, exactly.
Which is just this, like, I don't know, place of, like, free speech and everyone saying, this pillar of discourse or whatever.
Yes.
But it's like, I don't know if anything productive really comes out of Twitter, if I'm honest.
Oh, God. So, with all this entire mess now, It's now going to trial.
It is going to trial in October.
It's going to trial in October. The world's richest man is going to court.
Yeah. So Twitter launched a lawsuit against Musk in the Delaware Court of Chancery on July 12th. And Elon Musk tweeted in response, "Oh, the irony, LOL."
God. And also, another thing that makes me laugh, his legal team asked for the trial date to be moved to early next year because of it being such a complex issue. Because to be honest, there's so many different layers of this deal that it is that complicated that they wanted extra time. However, the judge says, no, if we move the date further on, it's going to cast a cloud of uncertainty. So therefore, the date will stand. October it will be.
Yeah.
Yes. I think personally, I think he's messed up. I think it was all a publicity stunt.
But is it? I mean, like, what's he? So I guess you could say it's with the goal of exposing like the number of like spam bots and the amount of like disinformation that gets peddled on Twitter.
Yeah.
But also, like, you didn't need to like buy the company to expose that.
I know, but when people have the money, they'll flaunt the money anywhere, wouldn't they?
But this is like a lot of. I feel like $44 billion is like.
It's nothing to him.
Is it nothing to him?
It's nothing to him.
I mean, how much is he worth? Because I saw like somewhere where like, with the amount of stocks that went down in Tesla.
Yeah.
From when he made the offer.
Yeah.
Like he lost a lot of his net worth as a result.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently his net worth is $264.9 billion. This is a very shoddy search here, so I mean, don't put much stock in that number. I wouldn't.
But if that is true, that is nothing.
So 264, like, yeah, I guess it's like...
Yeah, it's nothing. It's chicken change.
Well, that's not... Actually, I mean, if you think about it, that's like a fifth of his worth.
Oh.
That's like... It's kind of deep. That's a decent chunk of change.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe with like billions, obviously, again, it's like that scale that you and I can't imagine that.
Yeah, exactly.
Working on that sort of scale.
Yeah.
Of like having that much money.
Yeah. But I think that, I think they will end up having to pay that $1 billion.
I mean, it's fairly likely. I guess it's a question of like, will they? Because sometimes the court will find fault on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So, they might say that he has to pay the $1 billion or just proceed with the acquisition.
Yeah.
Is there anything that Twitter could have done differently? I mean, I'm surprised that they allowed it to get this far.
I don't know, but if they were withholding information,
yeah,
then that is very poor on Twitter's side, because at the end of the day, you want him to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are withholding information, then he's fair to feel the way that he's feeling. But if they're not withholding information and they're doing everything to the book, then they're not at fault.
Yeah.
They're not at fault.
Yeah. I guess with like because he wanted data on like how many spam bots there are.
Yeah.
What percentage? There are reports that it's about like 5%. Some reports saying 10%.
Yeah.
I think 5 is maybe more reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Elon Musk wanted assurances that it isn't that high. Basically.
Yeah.
That it isn't as high as 5%.
Yeah.
I guess with spam bots, it's a bit of a moving target because they're probably like, there's loads popping up every single day, every single like minute. There's like spam bots having to pop up, and that's something that Twitter has to automate on their end in terms of having enough, having the sort of algorithmic means of removing these accounts and stopping them from, existing.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously more keep popping up, and it's sort of quite difficult to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So they have to constantly like update their things, and so getting an accurate read on how many like spam bots there are is a bit difficult. At the same time, like that it's a problem on Twitter.
Yeah, and even if you get rid of them, they will still come back.
Yeah, but also it's just like, you know, you know it's a problem, and one of the things I just wonder is like, does knowing the size of the problem really matter that much? And is it more about understanding like better ways of being able to clamp down on it?
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I think they should just be looking at clamping it down rather than how many spam bots do you have?
Yeah, it would be much more. I think it'd be more effective to understand.
Yeah.
What exactly are these spam bots and how can you clamp down on them? Essentially.
Exactly. Like, there's many ways that they can clamp down on it, because I know that when signing up for Twitter, there's nothing preventing a bot from just making an account.
Yeah.
There's no captcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know anymore because I don't know if that's still the case now.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I've opened a Twitter account.
Yeah.
But when it was first there, you just put your details in. You don't even have to even get your email verified at the time, and then that's it.
Yeah.
All there's to do is just make it harder for bots to sign up for an account.
Yeah, but also there's like, if they get past that, then it's about understanding the content that they post.
Yes.
And I suppose there's a difference between bots and then there's like actively spreading misinformation.
Yes.
Which then is like kind of difficult because you can't really go on the content itself. You have to more look at like, you have to do network analysis to basically look at where these bots originated. But then you need to clamp down on privacy, which we discussed before about like the trade-off between privacy and cutting down on illicit activity.
Yeah.
So you would need to know more about these people running the Twitter accounts.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, like, if you think about it, then like what Elon Musk kind of wants is for people probably to have some privacy.
Yeah.
And so they aren't identifiable currently in Twitter unless they put their name and picture. But even then, you can have people who impersonate celebrities or something like that.
Oh yeah, of course, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the ironic thing is that if his ideal went through, then you'd probably get a lot more in terms like his ideal of like free speech and people being less restrictions on where you can post. You'd probably just get a lot more of disinformation and pornography and stuff on Twitter, right?
Honestly. Twitter.
Like, it's already like kind of bad.
It's bad. It's already bad.
I feel like it just will be like more bad, basically.
Yeah. Perhaps because this is something that Facebook's even done, like fact checking. Bring that to Twitter.
Twitter does have that, I think. So I think
does it?
So like when
Oh yeah, because Donald Trump.
Yes, when he was tweeting, they would have stuff to say like, this is.
Yeah, it came up in red. Yeah, I remember that
come
now.
up in red. Yeah.
Okay,
so they do have
it. Yeah.
I don't know how much that's enforced, especially for like smaller accounts. I don't think it's that automated, or that's like a manual thing. Because obviously, with someone like with Donald Trump's following, then they can do that manually. Yeah, I don't know if that's like automated some like the smaller accounts.
I don't know, but even with that as well, if they want to get rid of these spam bots and people spreading misinformation, when you block somebody, like a celebrity doing misinformation, don't unblock them. Like, what am I saying? Like, when somebody's temporarily blocked, like a celebrity, for, spreading misinformation.
Yeah.
And then you see 5 days later, their account is back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like, if they, from time that they do it in the first place, that is it. It's no like 3 strikes and you're out. It is, you're spreading misinformation, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's how they have to be.
Yeah.
So, we never know. The rules may change after the Donald Trump era.
Yeah.
That, that they clamp down on this sort of stuff, but who knows?
Yeah. So, because I have like a somewhat unique perspective in that I I actually did my bachelor's thesis on Twitter.
Oh.
And I looked at basically the idea of using tweets as a way of, as like historical sources. Because you get like, for example, like say if there's like some kind of event happening, like something's happening in somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And people are tweeting about it in real time saying like, this is happening. I don't know. Let's say there's like an earthquake somewhere, and they're like tweeting about it, and they're tweeting videos and stuff. And then you see, like, especially nowadays in news articles, tweets are being used as sources essentially. Like they'll be embedded in the article.
Oh yeah, BBC News does it all the time.
Which I did this back in like 2016, so I was actually like already like I saw all this coming. Like the idea of tweets being used as sources, as like historical sources, and actually understanding like how reliable sources are is a tricky problem, and it's especially tricky given the information that Twitter actually makes available to people. So one of the things that Elon Musk talks about that is true is the fact that there isn't that much transparency in Twitter's algorithms in terms of actually understanding the information that they have, and all the sort of data that is available to them. But also this stuff like requires a lot of very sophisticated processing of natural languages, as well as having information on like geographic location and stuff like that. So actually like assessing reliability is quite difficult on something like Twitter unless you have full transparency.
That's absolutely true.
So
that's absolutely true.
So it is difficult in that sense. But also I just think that, I don't know, maybe in that sense I can see there being the value in Twitter and understanding what's happening in real time in a given situation. But it's difficult, I think, for anything else to really of value to come out of Twitter. Like, I don't know, some people hold it as, with Elon Musk as well, as we see here, as this kind of ideal of, like, free speech and public discourse and everything. But it's mostly just rubbish, at least from what I've seen.
Oh, dear. But it will definitely be very interesting to see how this pans out over the next couple of months.
Yeah, maybe we can do an update once.
Absolutely.
Because I think like the court case is definitely gonna be watched by a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I think people are definitely gonna be paying attention to it.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Elon Musk and Twitter.
Indeed.
Yes, and once again, when we get an update, we will make another podcast about it.
Yes.
Yes.
By the way, I just wanted to say that Twitter revealed in a conference call that they remove over 1 million spam accounts per day.
Ah, wow.
And they said, and it's impossible to externally determine the exact number of these accounts as it would involve private user data. So... Okay. Yeah.
Alright. That's understandable. But that is a lot on a daily basis.
Yeah, so 1 million over 1 million on a daily basis.
Oh, God.
But, which obviously an application of that size, it does make sense. I mean, I think one of Elon Musk's other goals was to try and get Twitter to, I think it was 1 billion or 2 billion users. I can't quite sort of see, I think like at the moment there's 1 billion users, but I'm not sure. I have to double check that. But he basically wanted like everyone to be using it. Well, most people to be using it, I guess.
Yeah, not everybody wants to use Twitter. I've had friends that have had Twitter in the past, and then they said that this is boring, they delete their account.
It's just when like so here's like some quotes from Elon Musk himself. He says that Twitter could become a platform for free speech around the globe, calling free speech a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. And it's just like I just don't see that in Twitter.
Like, I don't see that in Twitter, and the thing is as well, not all countries are free like that.
Yeah,
there's still going to be censorship.
Yeah,
of some sort on Twitter from that country. So it's not that aim. Fair enough for majority, yes, but for a lot of for a few countries, it's not possible.
But I also just think that if you let people post whatever they want,
oh yeah, that is very dangerous.
I don't think you're going to get a platform for free speech. You're just going to get a bunch of pornography and
that too.
weird stuff on there. I don't think you're going to get anything useful from it.
No, or you get extremists and all that kind of stuff.
You'd have to wade through a lot of bad stuff to get
get to the good stuff.
And you already have to wade through a bunch of bad stuff to get to the good stuff.
Oh God, I know.
So I don't see the value for me. Yeah. So that's just my take, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up?
In terms of no, I'm just like I'm ready to see this court case.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see this court case. I'm going to see if he's going to pay that $1 billion.
Yeah, I actually would be keen to see the actual sort of more of documentation in terms of what Elon Musk was demanding, because there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that he says, like for example the slashing pay, which I think is of the higher ups at Twitter, which I think probably was in documentation. But he also talks about stuff like cutting jobs and costs, adding subscription services to Twitter.
Pardon?
Yeah, adding subscription services. But again, like this is something I think he said, but I don't know if this is something...
If that is on the documents, trust me, he's gonna and that sale goes through, everybody's leaving Twitter.
Yeah, like he says a bunch of stuff, but I don't really know like what. Yeah. And I guess like he has like a wish list of stuff he wants, but I don't know how much of it was actually like, this is what I demand in order for this offer to go through.
No, we should hope that that's a publicity stunt, because if that ever happens, Twitter is not Netflix.
Yeah.
We don't need subscription services. For what?
I mean, I guess maybe because it stops like bots from coming up as much.
Yeah, but then you want a subscription service, but yet you want to promote free speech.
Because then it's not free.
It's not free. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll soon see in the documents if they release them.
I think it definitely is like interesting. Also, just like with someone in his permission, how much control he has in terms of like the market. So he's like apparently alleged to have like violated laws around market manipulation, and how this has led to a decline in like Twitter's stock, and how this has changed Tesla's stock.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that like I don't know, like if I can just like say something and just cause a company's stock to tank, that'd be
but remember, he's done that in the past with Tesla.
Yeah,
he's done that in the past and they lost shares. So he's a very dangerous guy.
He has a lot of power.
Yeah, he's got a lot of power.
Yeah,
which can also ruin him at the same time.
Yeah. Also, I love how like he was told that before like the acquisition went through. He was basically told like, oh, don't like say anything bad about Twitter like whilst this acquisition is ongoing, whilst we're trying to like get this deal to go through. And then he just like tweets like a bunch of stuff saying like how bad Twitter is in the meantime.
See, the guy don't listen. As they said, or those that don't hear shall feel.
Yeah. So like I think there was a so someone at Twitter, his name is Agarwal. I'm trying to find his first name. I'm messing up here. You can cut this out whilst I look for his name. It's a very big article, so I can't find it.
Oh God! It's like you want to buy a company and you're talking smack about it.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to do that?
Especially, I just wonder about if he just kept his mouth closed and then bought the company.
And then you could do whatever. And
then you can just sort of see how things go, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Like, honestly.
Okay, this is very embarrassing. So Parag Agrawal is the CEO of Twitter.
Oh,
right? So that's who I meant.
Oh.
Cut that. My mind went blank. So he was basically tweeted a thread about because Elon Musk wanted an external review into the user base of Twitter and how much of it was bots.
Right.
And he was basically in that thread, he was talking about why it was impractical, and then Elon Musk replied with just a poop emoji. So it's interesting that the whole thing is about Twitter and how, in the modern age you can just sort of like tweet at the guy whose company you're trying to buy with a poop emoji.
Honestly, no behaviour. He's got no behaviour at all. But perhaps it's because he's got all that money in it.
Well, there's one for your pub quizzes of who the CEO of Twitter is.
Oh God, I'll still forget.
Because it used to be Jack Dorsey, but it's not anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Anything else?
No, I think that is it for Twitter and Elon Musk.
I think that's it. We will revisit this at a future date once I think more information will come out during the case.
Yeah, of course.
So let's see how things go.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for listening.
As usual,
do all the comment and liking, tweeting maybe, sharing on Twitter.
Yeah, and commenting on the video as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for listening as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye bye.